thing I'm going to show you today is a product called FORTIG, and it's put out by a company called Data Masters in BC, and it's all about asset management and asset reliability and accelerating the performance of your assets. And for those kinds of assets we're talking about are talking about large things. So buildings, ships, plant, those kinds of things. It's totally built on QualiWare.
Do we take questions at the end or as you go along?
You can ask questions along the way.
Okay, I wanted to ask about the company that you're doing some collaboration with, or QualiSoft, you said.
Yes.
For compliance, does this have anything to do with accessibility?
Sorry, with
accessibility, like the tool be more accessible or compliant with the accessibility rules, or it's not related to that at all?
You're talking accessibility from the point of view of
like maybe the from the point of view of web compliance accessibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Jacob might have something to say on that in a little bit.
Okay.
But because we were actually just talking about that today. Yeah, the QualiSoft is a company that's primarily centered not in the enterprise architecture space, but in the quality management space. So, and business excellence. So we're looking at what we can adopt from that to carry over here. And we do have some quality management customers. Queedy, Eric Sheik is one. ICED, Industry Canada. The patent office is just coming on board with that, and there's a couple of others. FORTIG here is, looking at connecting the right people and asset management together, taking a look at commissioning and tracking progress and reliability over time. Again, looking at physical assets. So a lot of organizations say, well, we don't have a lot of that, but I mean, if you look at CBSA has a lot of different facilities. Public Works is concerned with, has an enormous real estate portfolio. The Coast Guard, a lot of ships, the Navy, the Air Force, the Army. So there are a lot of assets out there that are large that, there's engineering reliability and things like that to be concerned with. Interestingly, FORTIG as well looks at the enablers, the technologies, the stakeholders of the asset. It leverages the QualiWare EA platform, in terms of reusability and scalability, compliance and collaboration, all of those things. But what it actually allows you to do is quickly build that digital twin of your organization. And so you can, in a logical fashion, mirror large term assets that are out there in the physical world. Whether it's a fleet of ships, whether it's a set of plants or mills or buildings. I'm not going to go through this in a lot of detail, but essentially FORTIG takes ISO 55000 and quantifies it, puts it into a framework of best practices and different components within the QualiWare workspace. And stage 2 is actually taking real-time information from the real world and overlaying it on that, looking at reliability over time. I'm not going to go into tons of detail here, but there's lots of things going on, in terms of Internet of Things, cloud, big data analytics. Customer business models are being turned on their head. So how do we build a digital twin and a management system and relate that to various quality standards and what's happening in the real world? So we'll make this presentation available to people afterwards. I'm not going to go through it in a lot of detail. Looking at capital versus expense, looking how that asset, gets built, right from the planning stage, right through commissioning, and then how it gets managed over its life cycle. And there's lots of assets out there. I mean, you could actually look at systems, in this way. But FORTIG is really focused on physical assets. But I think there's some things there that, are transferable to other types of assets. I'm not going to go through a whole lot more of this. I do want to show you a framework. Can everyone see this? Is it large enough to read? So essentially, looking at, so this is the FORTIG framework, looking at things from a strategy perspective, again, tied to business processes, and the overall business context, the data, building out strategy and the scope, of what these assets are covering, stakeholders, organizational. I mean, this is typical EA stuff. But then driving that out into, the actual assets themselves and the information that we can collect about those assets over time and their performance over time. So that, again, we can pull back information from the real world and overlay that on the architecture to give to management to make decisions. Are we making proper use of these assets? Are they affecting our ability to deliver, et cetera, et cetera? So they have, so Data Masters has built out, an entire management system around this, and it's implemented in QualiWare. So this is one of the accelerators that Close Reach is looking at making available to help people manage their business better. CBP is another one of those. So we're going to be putting this up on the SALSA. So if there are government departments that want to acquire this this framework, they'll be able to do that and very easily implement it in QualiWare.